Hi, this is Brenda with For You by Hand Designs, and tonight I'm doing a video on how to make the rose petal wreath that I make using this wide stripe fabric mesh. I really like the fabric mesh. It's very soft, it's very pliable. I'm also going to be using this Unique in the Creek board. It is something that I purchased through Unique in the Creek, and this is their small board, and it works great with this rose flower. I'm also going to be using zip ties. I usually get these from Unique in the Creek, or I buy them from Deco Exchange or from Harbor Freight. It depends on who's having the sale. So I also use, to cut the mesh, I use this Deco Exchange cutter. I really like this cutter. It usually lasts me a good long time. And when I have to replace the blade, you get extra blades with their cutters. So when I need to replace it, then I just buy a new cutter. Anyways, I also use these rubber bands. They're from Amazon. I tried using the ones from the Dollar Tree because you get like 700 in a pack, but they seem to break easier for me. So we're going to start with our zip ties, and we're going to start by preparing our board. We're going to begin on the outside of the board, and we're going to be putting our zip ties in the holes that are closest together in sets of two holes, and then we're going to skip one. So you will see that I do turn my board over. I do use it kind of backwards, and with the Unique in the Creek design being the thing that I cover up, because when I sell something, then I usually want to have my card on the back. So if somebody wants to buy something, then they have my information. As you can see, I am putting the zip ties in every other sets of holes on the board. This board it's flat and it works perfect, especially for those places in Michigan. I'm from Michigan, or places that have like storm doors, and we are able to make flowers that fit between the doors. I also make wreaths, and some of them can get kind of large, but these will fit in between the doors. Now, on the zip ties, you want to make sure that you have the flat edge of the zip tie facing up so that the zip tie will zip. If it doesn't zip, then it's on backwards, and I can't tell you how many times I have put them on backwards. So we're going to continue on getting our board prepared, going into every other set of holes and putting in the zip ties. Now, it does take a little time to do this project, but I want to say the most amount of time that it takes is prepping the board and cutting up the mesh. Putting the rows together, that doesn't take as much, and probably about 45 minutes altogether. I find it very relaxing. I have a friend who said, you could put your boards together sitting in front of the television, which you could. And I have done that while I'm watching my show. But anyways, on row 2, you'll see we're going to continue putting zip ties into the holes that are the closest. And then there's another hole there by itself, and then there's the two sets. So we're still putting it into the two sets and skipping that single hole. And then the next row down, we're putting them into the sets all the way down to the bottom. After we get that done, we'll begin to cut our mesh. We're cutting our mesh at 10.5 by 10 squares. And once we get that all cut, then we'll begin putting our petals together. This is the easy part of it. The petals, we cut them in the square, but we're going to turn it on a diagonal. And as you see, the factory edge is on my left-hand side. And I put that on a diagonal and up at the left. And then I'm going to take that top corner and I'm going to pull it down to the bottom. Once it gets down there, it kind of looks like a triangle. And then I'm going to flip it to the left, and because I'm right-handed, and I'm going to count from the point about 3 squares, so 3 inches. And at that point, I'm going to just scrunch it together, and that is where I'm going to put my rubber band. Now, when we put our petals into the board, we will use that rubber band because that's where we're going to zip tie over top of, kind of like a marker. So I'm putting on the rubber bands, and I'll continue to do that. Kind of looks like an umbrella, lollipop. I just love the colors. It's got all the colors. And the material is so soft. You see me picking a few frays there. I had people ask me, what mesh does not fray? Let me tell you, all mesh frays. Even if you wood burn it, it's going to fray. So I try not to play with it as much, because the more you play with it, the more it's going to fray. So again, here we have our petal, we have diamond shaped, and now it looks like our umbrella, and we're going to put in the rubber band. And we'll continue to do that until we get all of our petals made. Now, it did take one roll to complete this project, to make this flower. So once we get them all cut, we'll begin on the board, and we're going to begin on the outside. And the reason I do that is because it's easier for me to be able to show you what I'm doing on the outside. So we'll start there first. So I'm going to take my petal and I'm going to set it in there, and the rubber band is right where we're going to zip that tie that, but it looks like they're kind of too long. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to cut and trim that up about 1 inch off of there so that it's not sticking too far in. And we're going to just put that right there with that zip tie, and we're just going to zip it tight. I'm always listening for that zipping sound as we are putting these boards together. So we're going to continue around, and we're going to do that for each one of those zip ties. And we'll get them done quickly. Just put them in there and zip them down. I will say this, the Unique and the Creek boards, they also have kits that you can buy from them, that that are put together, that are a lot of fun, and they do a great job. So all different kinds of boards. So now we have all of the petals in. We're going to clean up our board by cutting off the extra on the zip ties so that they don't get in our way. And the next step that we're going to do is we're going to put in another zip tie into those same holes, just like we were before. And we're going to use those zip ties to help hold down the outside of the petals as we form this rose. So as you see there, We're putting the zip tie in, and then we're taking the corners to the right and the corner of the petal to the left, and we're putting it in the middle, and we're just zip tying it and holding it down, and then cutting that off. And we'll do that all the way around. Put the zip tie in over top of where we just did. Then you grab the petal from the left and the petal from the right, the corners, and then you just zip tie it down tightly. And then that is the beginning of the form of the rose. You do it all the way around. I got into wreath making. It was a hobby at first. It was something that I really enjoyed doing and making and giving away as gifts. My husband says it's my therapy. So I love doing it. Here is, we've got that part of the board done. So now we're going to begin to put together the center part of the rose. And so we're going to trim up 2 or 3 pieces here, and we'll begin to put together the center of the rose. So much fun. So once we get them all trimmed up, then we're going to begin, and we start by beginning to roll at one side of the corner of the petal, and you're just rolling it to the middle, kind of a tight roll. And then you're rolling it on past the middle to the other side. And there you have a taquito. No, that's not. It's a taquito. You have a small roll there. I usually take a rubber band when they're tiny like this, to help me hold down the bottom. But taquito, not burrito. So we start out that way, and then we just keep adding to this. We keep building it up. It starts with this, and then the flower just forms out of this roll. And so it's a lot of fun, and you just keep building it. Like I said, this started out as a hobby and then became more than that. I do have a studio on a show on YouTube, and it's called the number 4, the letter U, by Hand Designs on YouTube channel. And then I also have an Etsy shop, which is the number 4, the letter U, for you by Hand Designs Etsy.com. And I have a Facebook, which is the same, the number 4, for you by hand Facebook designs, and an Instagram. So you can find me on any of those. So now we've got our middle all rolled up together, and then we're going to take a zip tie into the 2 middle holes that are on the board. And we're going to zip this down into there. Once that's zipped in there, and we cut that piece off, here is where you're going to build the rows around the center. So just kind of turn it up, bend it over, and so now the fun begins. We're going to take our other petals and we're going to form them for the next two rolls. We're going to form them and around and zip tie them at the rubber band. We're going to form them around that center petal. So you zip tie it in there, and you'll notice that the bottom of that petal, when you bend it, is facing out towards the outside of the board. Okay? For the next two rows, we're going to do that, where the bottom is facing the outside of the board, which is opposite than what we did with the first row we put on. So you're going to put these on, and then you're just going to form them around and bend them around. And like I said, this fabric mesh is phenomenal. It is really great. It is fun to work with. I enjoy. Sometimes I have to use. You'll see me use a little glue, hot glue, and that's okay. So, and I use my clips to hold them in place for a while until I can get all of the petals on. Because once all the petals are in there, then that helps form the flower. So you just continue putting the petals in there, and then you just wrap them around the center. Now notice here, I put the clip on backwards, so I had to redo it. See, everybody sometimes puts them in backwards. Now it wasn't zipping for me. I was trying to think of some other beautiful colors for the roses. I made a blue and white one, and that was really pretty. I made and they call it an ombre color one, and that with the fall colors, and that was really pretty too. So here we're continuing to put the wraps around. So there's a lot you can do with these flowers. I like to make the roses. I like to make the sunflower. I have made a magnolia. And I have developed a petal that I use with value mesh. Now, when I first started, value mesh was not a great mesh to use, and it frays a lot, and it's very thin, and it's just you get what you pay for, right? So, same thing with some of the Dollar Tree meshes. You get what you pay for, and it frays really bad. But I have developed a petal that hides all that fray, and it makes it look a whole lot better. And so, I have a couple flowers I did with it, and I was really excited because I kept thinking, what am I going to, I bought all this value mesh. What am I going to do with it? And they do with this petal. They turned out really nice. So you see, I have used some of my clips I got from the Dollar Tree to help me hold my petals in place as I continue to work this around and get this in there. Once all the petals are in, it will be a whole lot easier to shape and form the rows. But it's just getting them all in and into the place where we want them to be. So my mom loved roses. Oh my goodness, my mom loved roses. And her name was Jean. Her heritage is from Scotland. And she just loved roses. And she enjoyed them. It's going good. Just putting it in there, smoothing it in there. Round. Like I said, it takes more time for the board to prep everything, right? To put the board together, to cut all your mesh and all that. That takes more time than actually putting it together. But it's just lovely, lovely, lovely. So looks like we have one more to do, maybe two. And using our clips in there, getting them done in there. So if you enjoyed this, I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel. So if you enjoy this, then please follow and subscribe and let me know your comments, what you think. Maybe there's something different you'd like. And usually after I make something, it takes me it takes me longer to edit and put the things together. But I'll get stuff on my Etsy page, and if it's something that you don't want to make but you're interested in buying, then it will work for you. I'm actually going to it's called Crafting in the Carolinas in September. I'm very excited about that. And there's so many people out there that you're crafting with and making new friends and stuff. I just love it. So now I think we are at the point right here where we're ready to put the last row in. Okay. So on this last row, we're not going to trim anything. We're going to slide that bottom part of the petal under, and we're going to face it towards the center. So you're going to take your rose and you're going to slide it under with the bottom of your petal facing in towards the center. Okay, the other ones were facing out to the outside. This is facing in. And what that's going to do is it's going to help us as we form the rows together in keeping our petals positioned in the right places. So the first two rows that you make, your petals, the bottom of the petals go in towards the center. And then the ones in the center, those two rows go point out to the outside of the board. So as you can see, the detail on this rose, look at the color and the fabric. It's just gorgeous. I just really enjoy it. It's beautiful. Now you're just going to poof, and you're gonna fix some of this, and you're going to place it in place, and all the things that we like to do as crafters to look at our stuff, right? So one of the things we're going to do is on the outside edge, because that's the first layer that we put in, and we have a tendency to smush it down because we're working on top of it, is I go around and I poof out that, okay? Make sure all my edges are in, and I poof that out because it has a tendency to get smashed as that first one. So, and make it look like that. I really hope this video is helpful. I know, like I said, a lady requested I do a video um, on how I made this wreath, and this rose, and so I'm putting it together. So just finishing up there so that we can show some of the detail. You can see some of the green, the pinks, the purples, and gonna get closer there to the camera. I'm still learning how to use my camera, so hopefully it'll get better. But I think you can see the gist of how to put this together. It's a lot of fun. It's beautiful, and I really enjoyed doing it. I like to make the wreaths and the flowers and stuff. It's the other part of the that goes with it that I don't like. So, but that's okay. Got to do it all. So, well, I'm glad that you could be here with me and that you are able to be a part of this. And I just pray that the peace of God will be upon you and that you would just enjoy this wonderful day. All right? Take care.